Imagine being mistaken for just another rowdy fan at your own concert, security dragging you out while the crowd watches in disbelief. Now, imagine the jaw-dropping moment when the world realizes you're not just any concert-goer, you're the Grammy-winning headliner. This unbelievable story of mistaken identity will leave you stunned and questioning how it all went so wrong. The stadium was packed, buzzing with anticipation, as the crowd eagerly awaited the headliner of the night. Fans clutched glowing sticks, phone cameras ready to capture every second of the much-anticipated performance. It was the final stop on the global tour of the Grammy-winning superstar, Cassie Ray, a night that promised magic, electrifying music, and unforgettable memories. But beneath the dazzling stage lights and deafening cheers, a drama was quietly unfolding just outside the venue. A woman, dressed in a casual hoodie and ripped jeans, stumbled into the backstage entrance, her hair tucked under a baseball cap. Her movements were slow, deliberate, and unsteady. She swayed slightly as she approached the metal barricades. Her face, though mostly obscured by her cap, bore a hint of exhaustion, as if she had been running on empty for days. "Ma'am, this area is restricted," the burly security guard said, stepping forward to block her path. I know, the woman replied, her voice barely audible over the hum of the distant crowd. "I'm here for the show." The guard's eyes narrowed. "Tickets are for the front entrance. You can't come through here." She raised a hand to protest, but her speech was slightly slurred. I'm not here to watch. I'm performing." The guard let out a dry laugh. "Sure you are." He gave her a quick once-over. The woman's disheveled appearance didn't exactly scream, Grammy-winning artist. To him, she looked more like someone who'd had one too many drinks and dared into the wrong place. "All right, that's enough," the guard said, reaching for her arm. "You need to leave." "Wait!" she exclaimed, pulling back. "You don't understand. I'm Cassie Ray." The name hung in the air for a second before the guard burst out laughing. "Yeah, and I'm Beyoncé. Let's go." "No, really," she insisted, her voice rising with frustration. "I lost my badge, but if you let me in, I can prove it. My manager's inside. Just call him." But her words fell on deaf ears. The guard signaled to another member of the security team, who quickly joined him. Together, they began guiding her away from the entrance. As she was being escorted toward the parking lot, a group of fans waiting near the backstage exit noticed the commotion. One of them gasped, her eyes widening. "Wait a minute," the fan said, nudging her friend. "Is that Cassie Ray?" Her friend squinted. "No way. Cassie wouldn't be dressed like that." "I swear it's her. Look at her face." A few more fans started murmuring, pulling out their phones to take photos and videos. The woman, still struggling against the security guards, looked up, and for a brief moment, her face was fully visible under the glow of a nearby streetlight. "It is her!" one of the fans shouted. The murmurs turned into shouts, and within seconds, a small crowd had gathered around, yelling at the security guards to stop. "Hey, that's Cassie Ray! What are you doing? Let her go! She's the headliner!" The guards hesitated, exchanging uncertain glances. The woman took the opportunity to break free, yanking her arm away and stepping back. "See?" she said, panting slightly. "I told you." The guards looked at the growing crowd, then back at the woman. One of them muttered into his radio, and moments later, a well-dressed man in a headset came rushing out of the venue. His eyes widened as he spotted the woman. "Cassie," he exclaimed, pushing past the guards. "What's going on?" "Finally," she muttered, brushing herself off. "Tell these guys who I am." The man turned to the guards, his face a mix of exasperation and disbelief. "That's Cassie Ray. She's your headliner. You just tried to throw out a global superstar." The guards' faces turned pale as they processed his words. We're so sorry, ma'am," one of them stammered. "We didn't realize—" "Save it," Cassie said, holding up a hand. "Just let me in. I have a show to do." The crowd of fans erupted into cheers as Cassie walked past the guards and into the venue, her casual attire and no-nonsense attitude only making her more endearing to them. But as she disappeared into the building, The story of what had just happened was already spreading like wildfire on social media. Within minutes, hashtags like "Caught Cassie Ray" and "Hotch Headliner Drama" were trending, with photos and videos of the incident going viral. Inside, Cassie's manager was waiting for her, a look of relief and mild panic on his face. "What happened?" he asked as she walked into the green room. "Long story," she said, grabbing a water bottle and plopping down on the couch. "But I think your security team needs better training." He sighed. "We'll deal with it later. Right now you've got a sold-out crowd waiting for you. Are you ready?" Cassie took a deep breath, letting the adrenaline of the moment wash over her. She stood up, adjusted her hoodie, and flashed a small smile. Always. The stage lights dimmed, casting a hush over the crowd. The massive screens on either side of the stage lit up with Cassie Ray's logo, and a low hum of anticipation buzzed through the stadium. Fans erupted into cheers as the opening chords of her first song began to play. But backstage, Cassie was still trying to shake off the earlier incident. 2 minutes until you're on," her manager, Leo, said, glancing at his watch. His voice carried a mix of urgency and reassurance. Cassie nodded but stayed silent, staring at her. Reflection in the dressing room mirror. Her hoodie was gone, replaced by a dazzling sequined outfit that sparkled like a million tiny stars. Her makeup team had worked quickly, turning her from the unassuming woman outside into the pop sensation everyone adored. But even as she looked the part, her mind replayed the encounter with the security guards. "Who else wouldn't believe in me if I wasn't wearing this mask of stardom?" she muttered under her breath. "What was that?" Leo asked, stepping closer. "Nothing," Cassie said, shaking her head. "I'm fine." But she wasn't fine, not entirely. There was a sting in being dismissed so easily, even if it had been a mistake. It reminded her of the days before the fame, when she was just another girl with a guitar and big dreams that nobody seemed to take seriously. The crowd outside began chanting her name, their voices growing louder and more insistent. "Cassie! Cassie! Cassie!" Leo placed a hand on her shoulder. "They're waiting for you. Go show them why you're the best in the world." Cassie smiled faintly and stood up. As she made her way to the stage, she felt the familiar rush of nerves and excitement building. The moment her feet touched the stage floor, the crowd erupted, and all the doubts and frustrations melted away. The first song began, a powerful anthem about resilience and self-belief. Cassie's voice soared through the arena, and the audience sang along, waving their hands in unison. She poured her heart into every note, and by the second verse, she was completely in her element. But as she performed, she couldn't shake the thought of the fans who had stood up for her outside. How had they recognized her when the guards didn't? Was it just luck? Or had her music truly touched people so deeply that they could see beyond her casual disguise? Between songs, Cassie paused to address the crowd. "You guys have no idea how much it means to me to be here tonight," she said, her voice echoing through the stadium. "This tour has been a dream come true, and it's all because of you." The crowd cheered, and she took a moment to soak it all in. "But tonight, something happened that reminded me why I do what I do," she continued. "Before I got on this stage, some of you out there reminded me that this music, our connection, is bigger than just one person. It's about all of us." The audience roared, and Cassie launched into her next song, a heartfelt ballad about finding strength in unlikely places. As she sang, images from her past played on the giant screens, footage of her performing in tiny coffee shops, writing songs in her bedroom, and even a grainy clip of her busking on a street corner. It was a reminder of how far she'd come, and the crowd responded with an overwhelming wave of applause and cheers. Backstage, the security guard from earlier watched the performance on a monitor, his expression a mix of awe and regret. "I can't believe I didn't recognize her," he muttered to himself. "She doesn't exactly walk around with a neon sign," another staff member said, patting him on the shoulder. "But hey, at least you didn't make it to the tabloids. Yet." The guard groaned, imagining the headlines that would inevitably follow. As the concert went on, Cassie's earlier frustration gave way to gratitude. She realized that the incident, though frustrating, had given her a chance to reconnect with her roots. It reminded her why she started making music in the first place. Not for the fame or the accolades, but for the connection it brought with people. After her final song, Cassie stood center stage, bathed in a spotlight as the crowd chanted for an encore. She smiled, holding up a hand to quiet them. "Thank you for being here tonight," she said, her voice breaking with emotion. "This one's for all of you who've ever felt unseen, unheard, or underestimated. You're not alone." The crowd erupted once more as she began to sing an acoustic rendition of one of her earliest hits, a song she had written when she was just a teenager, dreaming of a night like this. Cassie's acoustic performance brought the stadium to a collective hush. Thousands of fans held up their phone lights, transforming the arena into a shimmering sea of stars. The rawness of her voice, unaccompanied by flashy production, struck a chord deep within the audience. It was a reminder of who she truly was, an artist who had built her career on honesty and vulnerability. As the final note lingered in the air, the audience erupted into thunderous applause. Cassie stood still for a moment, taking it all in. Tears welled in her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away, flashing her trademark smile. "Thank you," she whispered into the microphone. "Good night." She exited the stage, her heart still pounding from the overwhelming love of the crowd. Backstage, Leo was waiting for her, his expression a mixture of pride and concern. "You killed it out there," he said, handing her a water bottle. "Thanks," Cassie replied, her voice hoarse but full of gratitude. "I needed that." Leo hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Look, about earlier, the security thing. Do you want me to make a formal complaint? That guy had no right to treat you like that." Cassie shook her head. "No, he didn't know who I was, and honestly, it's kind of refreshing to be treated like a regular person once in a while. Besides, I think he's already beating himself up over it." Leo chuckled. "You're probably right. He looked like he'd seen a ghost when he realized who you were." Cassie laughed softly, but then grew thoughtful. "You know, it's easy to forget how much people assume about you based on appearances. If I hadn't been in a hoodie and jeans, he probably wouldn't have thought twice about letting me in. It's just weird, isn't it? How much of our lives are shaped by perception?" Leo nodded. "It is. But that's what makes you different, Cass. You don't let the fame change who you are." Cassie smiled faintly. "I hope so." Later that night, as the crew began packing up, Cassie wandered back out to the now empty stadium. The seats were deserted, the stage dismantled, but the echoes of the evening still lingered in the air. She walked to the spot near the gates where the incident had happened earlier. The memory of the security guard blocking her path felt like a distant echo now, but it stayed with her. It wasn't just about being mistaken for someone else. It was about the deeper question of identity. Cassie pulled out her phone and scrolled through her social media feed. Fans had already posted countless videos of the concert, tagging her in heartfelt messages about how her songs had touched their lives. One particular post caught her eye. It was from one of the fans who had stood up for her outside the venue. "Tonight, I saw my favorite artist remind the world why she's the best. And to think, I almost didn't get to see her perform because someone didn't believe she belonged. Never judge a book by its cover. Cassie Ray, you're an inspiration." Cassie stared at the post for a long time, her heart swelling with emotion. She had always known that her music connected with people, but seeing it articulated so clearly reminded her of the power she held, not as a celebrity, but as a storyteller and a voice for those who felt unseen. The next day, Cassie made a decision. She called a meeting with her team and proposed an idea that left them stunned. "I want to do something different for the rest of the tour," she said, her eyes sparkling with determination. "What do you mean?" Leo asked, leaning forward in his chair. "I want to meet more people where they are," Cassie explained. "No more exclusive meet and greets for VIPs. I want to go out there, into the crowds, the lines, the parking lots. I want to remind myself and everyone else that we're all just people. No walls, no barriers." O frowned. "Cassie, that's risky. Security will have a nightmare trying to keep you safe." "I know," she said. "But after what happened, I can't ignore the fact that there are so many people who feel invisible. If I can make just one person feel seen, it'll be worth it." Her team exchanged uneasy glances, but eventually Leo sighed and nodded. "All right, if anyone can pull this off, it's you. Let's make it happen." The following concert was unlike anything her fans had ever experienced. Before the show, Cassie walked through the lines of waiting fans, chatting, signing autographs, and even snapping selfies. She wore a simple outfit, no sequins, no flashy accessories, and blended in effortlessly with the crowd. At first, people didn't realize who she was. But once the whispers started spreading, a wave of excitement rippled through the fans. Cassie didn't rush. She took her time with each person, listening to their stories and sharing her own. When she finally took the stage that night, the energy in the arena was electric. The fans weren't just cheering for a superstar, they were cheering for someone who had made them feel like they mattered. As the tour continued, Cassie's unconventional approach gained national attention. News outlets picked up the story, praising her for breaking down the barriers between artists and fans. The security guard incident became a distant memory, replaced by a narrative of connection and humanity. Months later, Cassie was invited to a major award show, where she received a special honor for her impact on the music industry. As she accepted the award, she smiled and said, "This isn't just for me, it's for every person who's ever felt underestimated, overlooked or unseen. You matter, and I'll keep singing for you." The crowd erupted into applause, and Cassie felt a profound sense of fulfillment. In the end, the incident that had frustrated her so deeply had become a catalyst for something greater, a reminder that fame wasn't about being above others. It was about lifting people up and bringing them together